Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville. I'm really excited to have the only Black dermatologist in the Nashville area who is one of our expert move makers, Dr. Aleta Simmons, joining me today. We are going to be talking about how to prepare for your dermatology appointment. We want to make sure that you are getting the most from your appointment and showing up prepared so that you can leave there with everything that you need and all the prescriptions, whatever you need to have be successful in your skin, hair, or whatever journey you're on. So tune in as we talk to Dr. Simmons. I'm going to bring her on in a second here. Make sure you drop any questions you have in the chat so we can make sure that we are addressing those questions today. And so without further ado, welcome, Dr. Simmons. How are you?
Good. How are you, Danielle?
I am wonderful. I can't complain at all. Happy to have you here and just really honored to still have you on my expert team as a board certified dermatologist. You bring so much to the community, and we know that you are in high demand. So let's jump on in and talk about it, because we want to make sure the folks are prepared so that they get the most out of their appointments. So let's start with some tips. What do you got for us, Dr. Simmons? What's tip number one?
So your preparation for your dermatology visit actually starts before you even get there, right? So you want to think about what's your main concern. If you only have one thing to talk to the doctor about, what do you want to address? So have that and make it clear. Now you may have questions about other things, but depending on what your main concern is, we may need to make multiple appointments to address those other concerns so that we can make sure your urgent concern is addressed. Also, I want patients to write down questions if they have them so they don't forget. Oftentimes, when you go to the doctor, there's paperwork, you got to check in, you pay your copay. All these things have to happen. And then when you get into the room, you're like, what was that question I had?
Happens to me all the time. I thought it was just my awful memory, but
No. It's the same for me. So I always either jot down on a piece of paper or put it in my phone questions I have for my doctor. So these things you can use across the board at any doctor's appointment that you may have. And then, especially for the skin, take some photos. If you get a new rash or, your acne is flaring or you've got something going on, take a photo, because then once you get to your appointment, what if that rash is gone or it's not as bad as it was when it first started? Having some photos to see how your rash or your condition has changed is often helpful, because if it's not there or if it's better, it may be hard to really give you some information on what to do.
okay, that is really good because, yeah, you may have cleared up and you're like, oh, last month I had this thing, and I'm trying to describe it, and you don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, I want to also make sure we talk about what not to do in preparation for your appointment. And I'm gonna take a guess at one of them because I know that I've done this. And anytime something happens with me and I'm preparing, and my mother's like, I'm on WebMD and this, that, and the other, and they say that you got cancer. Like you go on WebMD and like everything is cancer. Anyway, I assume as a physician you all end up in this situation where folks are bringing this information to you from other sources. Is that helpful or not?
Well, sometimes it is helpful and sometimes it isn't. So sometimes patients have, looked up their condition and figured out what it is on their own, and they may be right. And sometimes they're like, I've already tried this, this, and this, but I found this article that says this is a treatment. Could I try it? And oftentimes, I'm on board with that if it's something that is going to be safe, it's actually used to treat that condition. But then, like you said, the Dr. Google can lead you to a place you don't want to be at, and then you have fear and worry that you might not need to have if you hadn't seen that information. So you have to be very careful and go to some trusted sources. I think the Skin of Color Society is a great resource. They have some skin conditions, even educational videos as a source of information.
That's really cool. I've never heard of them. Skin of Color Society.
Yes.
That's a great resource. Fantastic. Anything else that we should make sure we're doing or make sure we shouldn't do as we're preparing for our appointments?
Write down all your medications, things that you have already tried, whether it be prescription or even over the counter. A lot of times I love when patients bring in everything they're putting on their faces, especially when we have an acne exam, because then I can say, you can keep using this, but these 5 other things, let's take a break from those. So that gives me a lot of information. It can help tailor a skincare regimen with things you already have, so you don't have to buy new things, but to also see what things may be causing you irritation or worsening your condition. So always let us know medications that you're taking from other doctors and what you're using currently on your skin.
I love it. Yeah, I walked in my appointment with a bag full of stuff. I had about 15 things. So, but I feel, and you were like, okay, these are the 3 things. Like, I went from like this whole 10, 12 things that I was using to like 2 or 3, which actually saves me some money, in the long run as well. So, I love that suggestion. We do have a question. Shamir says, first of all, she'll see you on Thursday. She's excited. She has an appointment on Thursday, but she has a question. She's interested in fillers for her almost 50-year-old skin. Any suggestions? And I know that's one we hear quite a bit is about fillers. So any thoughts on fillers for as you're nearing 50 as a Black woman?
Yeah. So some people don't know that I also do cosmetics. So I do Botox and filler as well. I think that fillers can be a great way to address some of the concerns with loss of volume in the face. People say Black don't crack, which can be stressful, right? Because sometimes we're like, but I have cracking.
Right. I'm like, who Black don't crack? Because mine cracking.
So filler is one of those things that we do to solve the volume problem that Black women have most commonly, because we lose, like in our 30s, we start to lose like some of our bone structure and some of that fat padding that we have that keeps everything up, it starts to come down. So filler can replace some of that lost volume. And if you are seeing some, folds and wrinkles, it fills those in addition to adding Botox in there. So both together with a good skincare regimen can kind of help address some of those aging signs that you might want to just look refreshed.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Not a whole new face, but just look like you had some great sleep for the last 6 months.
I love it. Now, a random question I have along the same lines is that as folks lose weight, many times they'll start to, see some sagging in their skin. They'll lose some elasticity as they lose weight. Can fillers help with kind of filling in there, or are there other things like as you're on a weight loss journey? Are there other things that you should be doing or considering to not lose some of, that elasticity in your skin?
That's a great question. Many people need some of that excess skin removed to bring back that tightness that they desire. So I would recommend going to see Dr. Amaka. She is a Black plastic surgeon in our area. She is wonderful, and I would trust her with any of my patients. So I would recommend going to see her because plastic surgery can remove the excess skin from the body. I don't know if she does from the neck up, but she could definitely recommend someone if there's sagging skin around the neckline, or, what we call jowls, when this part of our skin starts to sag more, you may need a little facelift to bring things up. So there are different modalities that we can use, but if there's drastic extra skin, then you definitely need a surgical procedure. Filler only goes so far with replacing volume, and it's not going to tighten that skin. There are lasers for that, but you need a consultation to see what might be best for you.
That is extremely helpful. I love it. Wonderful. Well, I think we got all the questions. I have a last question for you. How can folks find you, and how can they book an appointment with you?
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Get the Skinny, GETTHESKINE. My website is the same, www.gettheskinny.com. And I now have a link for a wait list, because right now I'm back in clinic, but I'm getting, seeing my return patients that had to be rescheduled when I was out taking care of my parents. So I can, send out a link. I'll actually put it in the chat.
Okay,
So
great.
you can just add yourself to this wait list and we can see what we can do.
I love it. Fantastic. Because that is always the question. I need an appointment. How do I get in? And we've been telling folks to call and get on the list, but now we got a link. So we'll make sure that that link is dropped in the chat. Welcome back. We're excited that you're back in clinic, and we're excited to have you come in and talk to us monthly and give us tips. So next month we'll do a little bit more Q&A and see what the folks need. So if you have any questions for Dr. Simmons, drop them in the comments. Drop them down. I'll make sure that we come back to them and make sure we get to your questions next month. Thanks so much, Dr. Simmons. I appreciate you as always for coming and chatting with me. We appreciate what you're doing here in the community, and we are here to support you any way we can. And thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Also, go to gettheskine.com if you're trying to get in touch with Dr. Simmons. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.